So there's always going to be a new class of people who want access to that get rich quick scheme. Like, oh, I could create an online course and sell it to thousands and not have to work anymore. And that would be amazing. I think there's always going to be more people who want into that dream and who don't know the patterns and are brand new and they get got. A lot of big names are leaving coaching, are leaving online business. Some of y'all have sent me the announcement like from Tyler J. McCall last week that he's shutting down his online business and moving on to other things. And there's this question, is the bubble bursting? Well, I've got a few thoughts about this. One, I think for the individuals who are choosing to leave, I think their bubble is bursting. When some people kind of go through an awareness where they realize that some of the things that they were doing were unethical, or that the leaders that they learned from were doing unethical things, you often see them like make a pivot, like I'm gonna do things the ethical way now. And either the pivot moves into them basically doing the same thing they were doing before, but like with a couple, like I heard about somebody who's like pretty big name who recently pivoted into like, now I'm going to be an ethical copywriter. And I asked a friend who is following them and in their trainings and stuff, I'm like, what does this mean? They're not going to do countdown timers anymore? And this friend was like, oh no, they still do countdown timers, but now they have a button where you can turn it off. That was worse than I thought it would be. I was like, okay, so you're still getting that psychological hit of urgency, but you can turn the urgency off. Folks in this pivot, the easy ethical swap pivot, make little tweaks, but still often are doing the same shit. And like, for example, the outrageous income claims. So now it's like, I'm not going to make you rich by manipulating people. I'm going to make you rich doing it the right way. And part of the problem here is still these results are based on these big income claims. I mean, the results are based around wealth as the number one way that the world will get changed. And that is not true. First of all, not everyone can get rich within capitalism. That is impossible. So that's the first pivot. More of the same, but putting the ethical label on it, like a company puts the word natural on their products while they're still selling the same garbage. And what also bothers me about this pivot is that there is a lack of acknowledgement that many of these folks built their platforms, built their followings, built their wealth, doing it the unethical way. And then they get to the top and they're like, I'm going to be good now. Okay, so what's the plan for making it right? The second pivot that happens is people are like, okay, they have a realization and they're like, shit, I don't believe in this. And then they try to make a pivot and they realize it's not as easy as they thought. They're like, oh, wait, there isn't an easy way to not participate in like the coaching pyramid scheme, because this entire model is based on getting more and more people underneath you to replicate what you are doing. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of people leaving coaching and online business as well. So is the bubble bursting for everyone everywhere in coaching? I honestly don't think so. I think that the world is full of hurting people right now because that is the consequences of capitalism. And I think that what we'll see is turnover. I think we're going to see the cycle continuing, a new group of celebrity coaches moving in. And what's really interesting about a lot of these coaches, especially in the business coaching industry, is look at the Amy Porterfields, the Marie Forleos, the Jenna Kutchers. They are targeting brand new business owners. They're targeting a lot of folks that like want to quit their jobs. Like Amy Porterfield's book is literally called 2 Weeks Notice. It's targeting people who still have day jobs and want out and want to start a business. So there's always going to be a new class of people who want access to that get rich quick scheme. Like, oh, I could create an online course and sell it to thousands and not have to work anymore. And that would be amazing. I think there's always going to be more people who want into that dream and who don't know the patterns and are brand new and they get got. Yeah, there will be lawsuits. Yeah, I foresee an upswing in regulation in the coaching industry, but it's not going to stop this. You look at someone like Dean Graziosi, who literally has FTC violations. He has been running MLMs and pyramid schemes since like the 80s and 90s. Take a look at this graphic. I'm going to share it after this. He has been just from one grift to another, and he's doing it successfully, partially because of people like Jenna Kutcher who give him access to an audience of people who have never heard of him before, and he can slime them with things they've never heard before. You know, you think about the folks that are brand new to business, and then they take something like B School. No wonder they give these big, like exaggerated testimonials of, oh my God, this changed my life, because everything they're learning, despite it being very easily accessible on something like Google, is brand new to them. So they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You don't get those types of testimonials from people who've been in business for like 10 years. Where I do foresee a big change coming is specifically around the way that influencers monetize their own children. There are laws in the entertainment industry about how many hours a child can work, counts where their money has to be put away, and they're, making sure that the parents don't take all of the profits from their work as children. And right now, within influencer families, like on YouTube, monetizing their kids, like giving their kids scripts to read. It's not all just like behind the scenes of our life. There's a lot of children who are essentially being fed scripts so they look really cute and sassy. I think we're going to see a massive change here. Number one, these kids are growing up. They're bringing lawsuits. They're like, this is and yeah, I think we're going to see labor regulations tightening down around the ways that parents monetize and essentially like turn their children into little workhorses for their influencer empire. Last thought on this, going back to the famous coaches who are quitting the industry like Tyler J. McCall last week. If you looked at his I'm closing my business post, you'll see a lot of the famous names congratulating him and telling him how proud they are of him for putting his health first before his business. And yet there's no acknowledgement of the harms within the industry that pushed Tyler to this point. Because obviously Tyler has himself been very open about the emotional consequences of being a famous face, of being a celebrity personal brand. He talked about a couple months ago how he was in over a year of therapy to heal from the harms of one coach who harmed him. So everyone's applauding him and saying, we're so proud of you for choosing yourself. And no one is reflecting on or naming the ways that this industry harms people.